Right.
So we're not repeating ourselves, but we'll make no promises. This show is very much, we're going to put the accelerator on and let go of the steering wheel and just see where this goes.
I mean, we just did 30 minutes of talk without even just processing it.
And I think that's why we started a radio show.
Right, that's it. We talk too much, Andrew.
We do.
We talk too much.
Good morning and welcome. This is 9am Radio with Andrew and Alex. This is Neon Sunrise. If anyone is listening, you might be able to tell this is our first time doing this. So this is Neon Sunrise. This is our little chat morning show thing.
A bit of chill music. Yeah.
Bit of a chill atmosphere to get the morning going on a Wednesday.
Morning conversation, scientific, and geek culture kind of thing.
Yeah, so we're going to get nerdy here. We're going to talk about future. We're going to talk about science. We're going to talk about fantasy, games,
and
movies.
Chill.
Yeah, bit of everything. I think we got a couple things to go through today.
Yeah.
You got anything to start off with?
I think we're gonna go with space station. Maybe?
Space station, yeah, that's a good.
Space station sounds good.
Good place to start. So an initial question for today is looking at space stations and living in space and colonizing that whole frontier of things. Now, space stations, obviously, as they are now, we have to send lots of stuff up to them in order to make the people on there not expire. So I think today we're going to be looking at what it might look like to have a space station that is completely self-sustaining, having its own food, its own water.
Right. The first question is, when you talk about space station, do you talk about orbital space station, or do you talk about, like a moon station?
Well, I think that's a good place to start, I think. So if we say that this thing has to orbit by itself, as in not attached to a body.
Does it even have to have to orbit? Maybe it can just be in space.
It could be a free-floating thing.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so I think we should lay down some ground rules for this thing.
Okay.
So let's say,
let's do that.
Is it orbiting Earth? Is it on the moon? Is it in a general solar orbit? I think that might be a bit risky.
I think just for radiation-wise.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it'll orbit anyway.
Because if it's just free floating, the amount of radiation taken by the sun is just going to be enormous.
I mean, it's going to get that radiation anyway. Like, if it's orbiting Earth, I'm thinking, like, if it's in a solar orbit, not a Terra or an Earth-centered orbit, then it's going to just head on its way and just... It'll be very far away from Earth at a given point in time.
Well, yeah. So the use of a free-floating space station could be not very important, because it would be very far away from the Earth at a certain point of time.
It would be. So I think... when we're talking of self-sustaining, this could either be a near-Earth thing, which is a space station near Earth, which is either used as a kind of a launching ground for other things to then go off elsewhere without having to use up energy and fuel, escaping Earth's atmosphere and gravitational pull and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Or is this a form of long-distance transport? As in the whole station itself is a propelled...
Oh, do you mean
entity.
like in Star Wars where you have the ring for...
I'm thinking a bit bigger than that. So I think Alex is referring to in the prequels, we see Obi-Wan jumping in a donut and being slingshotted across the universe.
That's true. Well, that's science, Andrew. Come on. It's not just the prequels. It's science.
Well, I'm sure we'll end up talking about the prequels and at some point. I think we'll leave that for now. Okay, so I'm thinking much bigger, like self-sustaining, so we need...
Right. So you're talking about space station,
like the ISS on steroids.
Right, the ISS on steroid with enough fuel to project like as many rockets that it wants, and that would just stop there.
And that's if you're using rockets for fuel.
Right. Okay. So just as a kind of a fuel station for anything related to space travel.
Possibly.
Okay.
Now, with sending large amounts of things to space, now one thing they've considered for things like Mars missions, and one of the main driving forces for having a lunar base, which are obviously a thing which is on the horizon potentially in the next few decades or so, one of the driving forces for that is escaping that gravitational pull is obviously much easier than escaping Earth.
Right,
so you can put a much bigger rocket on the moon and then use all of that fuel getting somewhere far away like Mars or Mercury or wherever else like that without using up that fuel.
Everyone wants to go to Mercury, guys.
Hey, some people are. Just this morning, dating this broadcast. I believe NASA was looking at a joint mission to Mercury.
I think so, yeah.
Which should be interesting.
Yeah, with China, was it?
I believe it was China or Japan,
Okay.
potentially both. You'll
I
come
don't
to
know.
learn that we're not very well educated on this show. We'll just talk random nonsense, and if
Yes,
we're wrong,
you
we're
will
wrong.
see. You will see
Um,
always like not true knowledge, just half of a knowledge.
Yep.
Good information,
Mhm.
just mixed, and just false
Yeah.
information. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The point is not to be true. The point is just to have a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if we set the ground rules for this, let's say an Earth orbit thing,
Right.
just for
Earth orbit
simplicity.
thing. Okay.
For simplicity. But within the realms of it being self-sustaining, it needs to be able to live by itself completely without packages from Earth.
All right. So next question: how many people are going to be there?
Well, I think that
Does it can it just change, or do we just put a number?
I think a good capacity is important.
2.
Well, I mean, in order for it to be self-sustaining, it needs to have water generation. We need food. We need power. So if you take those 3 things and oxygen as well,
Right.
So if they take those like 4 needs effectively,
Yeah.
and power kind of helps fuel the other 3, but if we take those 4 needs as a given, you need enough people to be there to run those things.
Right.
Now, I'm sure you could automate a lot of those things, and obviously that I think would be an ideal or a desirable thing to do.
Right.
So I think the number of people you have is less a case of like it is now this number built around that, but it is something which is intrinsically tied to the needs of this station.
Right.
So
Did you watch The 100, the TV show?
I watched a little bit of it back like,
Right.
when it first started. I love the concept. I'm not a fan of the main actress. I
Right.
didn't. The
That's
acting
not the
wasn't-
question. She's not my favorite either. Right, in the beginning, they live in that space station.
Mhm,
and I
mhm,
don't
mhm.
know how many there are, but
More than
there are a
100.
lot. More than 100,
Yep.
right? No, that's just the kids. But like they have the problem of air like diminishing after 100 years in space.
Mhm.
I don't really remember the reason. And everyone had a task and stuff. And like, for example, if you had another kid, you would you would go to like the prison, which is just space. You would just get flown into space.
Yeah. So the concept of the show, for those who haven't seen it, haven't heard
Right.
it, whatever. World, big apocalypse, no one there supposedly. There's a space station.
Watch episode 2, and then that
Yeah.
gets gone.
Yeah. The illusion is dropped really quick. So on this space station, where I believe it's like the rich and talented have been like saved on the space station to like wait out this apocalypse.
Like 100 or like 150 years. I
Yeah,
don't remember.
like, there's a couple generations of them, but they didn't design it very well, and it's not very well self-sustaining.
Yeah, not great engineers, man.
No, man, the future proofing was not there. And in order to kind of make sure that the resources they had there, both in air and food and that, don't run out, they either fling you out into the abyss that is space, or they fling you back down to Earth in an attempt to kind of test the waters a bit to see if the rest of them can pop
Where's
back
Bob? Oh, Bob is dead. Ah, damn it.
Yeah, to kind of see if
Yeah.
Earth is re-inhabitable. And like, the show follows a bunch of kids that go down and do that and overreact to their emotions
Yeah,
rather grossly.
very grossly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you get what I meant.
Yeah.
So let's just go with 50 people on the space station, or is that enough? I mean, 50 people is good because it's like between a very large population of
Mhm,
100 to 100, and like 50 people is enough in a big enough space station to have a job for everybody.
It is. See, when I'm thinking about this thing coming at it, I'm thinking more of a case of what resources there need to
Okay.
be there, and then like fit the people around that.
Right,
But
okay.
if we
can do
scale
that.
that for a rough 50.
I mean, the question, if you have a space station, would be what's the point of it, and then how many
Yep.
people would you put on it?
It's
Because
true. Like, what's the actual point of the space station, and what people do you need there, and what resources do you
Right.
need there in order to fulfill that mission?
right, exactly. So you have like a lot of stuff in different movies where some space station are not even there's no one on it, and you just go there, do what you have to do with your spaceship, and just go on your way. So let's say there is maybe 20 people, not that much. And okay, so 20 people. What do they need? They need air, they need water, they need food.
And for all those things, they need power.
And for all those things, they need power.
So I think power is like probably the easiest thing to start with, because we are gonna need nuclear. In
for
a
the long
sense.
term, you're gonna need nuclear.
And like we can say like nuclear, we might mean fission or fusion in
Right.
either case, there are methods of making these extraordinarily long-lasting.
So Andrew, since we're both engineering student,
We
but
are,
you are let's say more engineer than I am. Explain to me why solar system or like a solid based powered system wouldn't be like the right idea.
Well, a solar orbiting one.
No, just I meant like a Earth orbiting one, but just solar powered.
Oh, solar power. I
mean,
think...
I know the nuclear one is it's more long term and better energy amount. You're gonna have more amount of energy, but like, why not solar? In space, nothing is covering you.
It's true, and I think absolutely, you need to have solar on there as a backup and as an additional means. I think there are enough power drains in this system that you'd probably want something a bit more than that. Like, solar's great for satellites and things where they're powering a finite number of relatively low power drain instruments.
I think so. If you don't want the plugs to just fry, you just need nuclear, man.
Yeah. And also, like, I'm pretty sure any astronaut worth his salt up there is going to have a Nintendo Switch, and he's going to need to be able to charge that over and over again. So
right, yes. Nintendo Switch, you said?
I mean, Nintendo Switch or DS.
Or DS. No,
or PSP.
No, come on. You go from Nintendo Switch to PS4, then Xbox One.
So you got the hierarchy in the right order there.
Yeah, of course. There's a hierarchy to everything, Andrew. Your Xbox One is at the last place, man. Yeah. Oh my God, what was that sound?
As my insides breaking, there's the gears grinding in reverse, as you said something I didn't completely.
As I said, he's a very engineer kind of guy.
Yeah. So I think power-wise, we've got that. We've got nuclear. So in its simplest form, we'll take fission because that's what we understand the most. So we need a reactor. We need a cooling fluid, which is we'll say for simplicity's sake, we'll use water because we're already synthesizing that for use in running.
Because you can.
So if we say we're going to use water for that, water cooled reactors are already in use today, so we know that they work. I mean, I mean, you'd still need a rather transportable kind of reactor because you can't just bring a reactor to space. I mean, how big is a reactor? We have nuclear submarines.
Yeah.
And you can send things up in parts.
Right, that's true. Okay, fair enough.
So I think for the scale of this project, if we say that size isn't the biggest problem, if we say like...
Okay, no, fair enough. If money and size is not the problem.
Yeah, this is a money no object thing. So my next thought actually is residential, right? You have the people that are staying there, both permanently and semi-permanently.
So okay, around 50 people.
I think they need gravity.
So you need artificial gravity. Do you go a bit like an interstellar with rotating around the same gravity point?
I think that's the only way to do it.
I mean, that's or otherwise you can do like the end of Interstellar, which is the inside of the rotation ring that is the gravitation board.
I mean, they're the same thing.
They're the same thing.
One's on spokes of a wheel, one's on the inside of it.
Yeah,
inside of a
they
drum.
look better. I mean, the last one. I mean, the one you see at the last moment of the movie is looks better.
The Interstellar, I enjoyed the film. I was feeling ill when I went to see it, and I went to see it in like 4K 3D. That was a mistake.
That was a mistake.
I did the same thing. I made the same damn mistake with Gravity.
Oh no, I didn't watch Gravity.
George Clooney flipping all over the place. I'm here like trying not to throw up.
Someone told me Gravity was just like a guy in space falling, and I was like, wow, that's not interesting.
I mean, so going into spoilers territory for Gravity, if you haven't seen it already.
I mean, there's zero listeners. So don't worry, no one is going to be spoiled.
It's been out for a while as well.
It's been out for a while.
Basically, you've got. I believe it's Sandra Bullock. I might be wrong. I know nothing about any kind of art or creative anything.
I'm here for that.
I believe it's Sandra Bullock. She's flipping out in space. She's having a grand old time.
Yeah, right.
George Clooney's hanging out with her, helping her do things. Then it turns out later on she's been hallucinating because she's got no oxygen, and George Clooney's been dead for ages. Or he wasn't there.
You're kidding,
dude! Like it, yeah.
I don't even want to. Okay, I was never going to watch the movie anyway.
And like the ghost of Clooney helps her do things and like find a different module and just float through space for a bit. And if you actually look at the
you're flying through space, ask for George Clooney ghost.
I mean, there's no one better.
There's no one better.
I'd rather have Matt Damon. But
have you seen The Martian?
He's doing Iron Man stunts. George Clooney Sandra Bullock, she just floats like 200
Hey,
miles.
it's hard to float, okay?
It's difficult to float, but she floats like 200 miles using one of these spacewalk
Right, yeah.
suits.
Hydrogen-based
this
space suit.
abandoned like satellite or like a little space station Chinese thing, or Chinese or Russian, and she jumps inside it and she like
A communist thing.
yeah, she jumps inside that and then manages to basically crash it to Earth and somehow not die. But if you think about the amount of the speed that things that orbit the Earth are traveling, they're
Right.
really, really fast. Now,
Yeah.
you look up in the sky, you see it drifting across. Oh, it's really slow. But these things are traveling hundreds of miles.
Well,
an
yeah,
hour.
no, they go to 1,000 or something.
I'm
No,
not.
what's
I'm
the
not going to
orbiting
say a
speed?
number because
We don't know.
because it'll be an order of
will be
magnitude
wrong.
out, and we'll embarrass ourselves.
We don't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
Because we
A
always
physics
wrong.
lecturer will listen to this in about 10 years and be like, "Oh, those stupid children."
10 years now, man.
I mean, that's how long I'm.
Come on, we're going to
expecting
go
this
big tomorrow. Come on.
take. Yeah. So, okay. So we have a rotational residential area.
Right. Okay.
Somewhere in this, we have a nuclear reactor. Now, just the paranoid side of me wants to put that
Very far away from the people.
pretty far from the people.
Yeah. Like at the end, it's just like a big broom,
Yeah,
and there's
opposite
the
ends.
one part that is like
Yeah.
it's a big stick. It's
Okay,
just
so
one
we've got
part.
these two parts, and let's take for a given that we have a kind of a port involved there where other satellites and things can dock with this station
Okay.
and give us stuff, and we can give them stuff, and also
Right.
maybe a landing bay.
A landing bay.
Yeah. Now, when I was thinking of this, I
What?
was thinking of like a several hundred people space station, and I wanted to have a look at what we might think about a
100 people.
zero gravity like intra-station transport, because I want a damn space bike.
You want a space bike?
I want a space bike, but we'll get to that later.
Wait, what? A space bike?
Yeah, cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger, damn it.
Yeah. So food-wise,
Food-wise, okay,
hydroponics.
food-wise. As always, because you gotta eat powder in space. That's the rule. If you don't eat powder in space, you're not in space.
Yeah, space
That's-
ice cream.
Space ice cream. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, but like, how do you? Okay, if you finish the amount of food you have, well, how do you make more?
Well, see, I think
You just have vegetables just growing up, and you just
hydroponics. So okay,
Right.
so you don't get anything from nothing, and
no, that's true.
we need
guys, come on.
water, because all of this begins with water. Because if we
Right.
say we start with a packet of seeds, and now we're going to need a lot of seeds, and I think we need animals up there as well, because
Right.
I want ramen, and that involves egg noodles.
Why do you want ramen? Okay, fair enough. You're in space, Andrew.
I
Why
mean,
do you want ramen?
I know, but I want a quality of life in space.
Oh,
So
luxurious quality of life eating ramen.
absolutely,
Every day.
no, not every day, which is why we have lots of different animals. Or we have
have
a few
cooks.
animals, and we use
What kind of
stem
space
cell
station
lab
is this?
growth to grow living meat. And that's a whole
Right,
thing,
right. Which is fair. Which is fair.
Yeah,
Which is, you, the fucking space station is gonna be. Oh, sorry, I swear it. The space station is gonna be very much just a slaughterhouse at the end.
Not if you use this
Tell
whole
me.
live farming thing. So I don't know if you. This show should be called the Tangent Show, because we're going to go off on one.
Yeah, always.
The world is dying.
The world
climate
is
change
dying,
is real.
Yes, guys.
Et cetera,
climate change
et
is
cetera.
real. Oh my god.
And one of the biggest contributing factors to that, obviously, is the food industry, and in particular the meat industry. And because we're humans and we're very stubborn, most people are not. Either they'll think, I'm just one person, it won't matter, and 7.5 billion of us will say that, or the option is to go vegetarian, and most people probably won't.
Is it about the article you just posted yesterday?
No, it's about a different one.
Okay.
A possibility is to use, far more sustainable methods. And one of these was someone took cells from a chicken's feather or something like that while the chicken was
Right.
still alive, and then used stem cells and things to accelerate the growth of the beloved nugget. And they basically
beloved nugget.
they created a chicken nugget in a lab. The chicken was alive, was never harmed. And if that kind of farming can be done sustainably and efficiently, that provides a potential,
Right. Okay.
no killing, very sustainable method of.
Okay. So we have that option
Of
for
farming.
we have that option for meat.
We have that option for meat.
Why any of the space? Why any of the astronauts are just vegans? What if
I mean,
what if they're vegan?
well, then they have vegan powder at the moment.
At the moment, for now.
However, I do think
I think we need real carrots.
we
man.
also need crops up there in hydroponics. So we need water from somewhere. We'll get to that in a minute. But if we say that we need food, so we need hydroponics, we need a variety of plants. In terms of the plants we want there, we don't have infinite space, so we need to cherry pick the plants that we're going to use. We need things like, I think soy would be a very useful one.
Yeah.
Because you can make so much from that, like everything from milk. I believe tofu is soy. I might be
it is.
grossly
It is soy
mistaken.
based.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you've got that. Bean crops like soy are a decent source of protein. So yeah, you can be vegan and get your protein from that.
Yep.
Also, soy sauce for the ramen. Also things like corn. Very versatile crops, effectively.
Right.
And I don't think we need to worry about biofuel because that resorts down to combustion energy production.
Yeah,
and that's
you don't
not.
want you don't want any point of combustion in the space station.
Yeah. I mean, I
Fire
think
in space is
a
bad.
designated smoking zone, maybe, but
No, but it's still.
For those so inclined.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have the vegetable, you have the meat point. Good. What about water? So I'm thinking water. You do.
This is the big one.
Right. So this is the big one because you can't have the others without it. So as you'll see, guys, all my information is based on movies, and Andrew's information is based on real life facts.
And video games.
And video games. But that's for both of us. In The Martian, he makes water, right? I think he does that. I think he does that, right?
So
he has actually two
if I recall, and it's been a while since I've seen The Martian, fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. The book is also fantastic.
No, I didn't read the book.
So it is based in real science. The author did consult people and do his research. This stuff does work.
It's a very believable work.
It is for sure. So what he does is I believe the fuel they use in the rocket ship to get there
is hydrogen based.
It's H2O2.
It's H2O2.
It has a name. I'm
That's
forgetting it, so I'm not going to try and remember and get it wrong.
It's H2O2. You're right.
Yeah.
That's it.
So what he does is he conducts a chemical reaction in his little potato farm.
Yes. Potato farm, guys.
Separate that into H2O and O. And you can balance that to end up that would being 2H2O2 into 2H2O and O2.
That's what I remember.
Effectively, what I just garbled there was he turns rocket fuel into water and oxygen.
Wow.
Two things you need to make potatoes. And there's this wonderful scene in the movie where an emaciated Matt Damon is dancing around because he's got wet walls, because water condensation is forming. But the problem with that is you need rocket fuel to begin with.
Right. So okay. So what was your idea to? Did you have an idea for?
I mean, I've got thoughts. None of them very good. Which is the general theme with thoughts. They come from me. And it involves. Well, we need a way of getting hydrogen and oxygen, and these are very, very common elements throughout the multiverse. One potential one that came to my mind was you can capture asteroids. Many asteroids are made in at least a large part of ice.
Yeah, no, that's true.
However, they are zipping about out there. They're not just hanging out for us.
What about during a 2-month period, you just don't catch any asteroids? You just don't have any ice.
That's the weakness with this one.
And 50 people die on a space station in space.
You do. And that's the reason I think any kind of self-sustaining space station would need an input. You need something coming in because...
Right, because you can't...
like straight up entropy style. Like
you can't
make nothing from
no,
you can't make anything
from nothing. That's it.
So if you've got people on a space station, they take in oxygen and other stuff, and they produce CO2 and other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You have animals on a space station; they're doing the same thing. The plants are taking in oxygen and taking in CO2 and oxygen and giving out oxygen,
right?
And all these things. You've got power, which is taking in your fuel, whether that be uranium, whatever else, and that's putting out power and whatever else byproducts.
So we need an input.
But all of those things, even though the plant will fuel the living things with oxygen and will fuel the plant with CO2, that plant is still growing. Matter is going into that and being produced into our food.
True.
We're still growing and living, and that means there is a net decrease, obviously, in resources there. Whether on a sum total level, the stuff, the oxygen, the CO2, all of that is going down as you eat the food.
Yeah.
Which is why you need an input. And now I'm not quite certain where we get this input from.
Depending on where you are, if you're rotating around Earth, there's still always the fantastical solution of space elevator, but we're not going to go there.
I mean, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Space elevator is a thing. Afterwards, if it doesn't have to be Earth, it doesn't have to rotate around Earth. Maybe you can be on the moon. still be in space station. Would you be in space station if you're on the moon? Or is it going to be a moon station?
I wouldn't. I'm not certain because
Right.
you're in space.
You're in space. I mean, no.
I mean, you'd call it a lunar base.
A lunar base. Right. Okay. Okay. Let's stay in space. So I'm thinking, space elevator. Very complicated to put in place.
Very complicated, and also defeats the whole self-sustaining portion of this.
Yeah, but you need an input. Okay. So just like what? Monthly rocket, just bringing you.
But that's not self-sustaining.
I know, but like we need an input.
We need an input, so I think that has to be an input that you harvest.
Right, but what from where?
That's a very good question.
I think asteroids is the only thing you can do.
I mean, asteroid, I think, is one of the solutions that we can see. I'm sure there are plenty others that we're missing. And
or you go orbit around like, is it Mercury or is it no? It's Neptune that has a lot of ice.
Neptune has a lot of ice.
Or just
I mean, there are other. So Europa,
Europe,
very different things.
very different things, but
so Europa, the moon around Jupiter,
right,
is
exactly one of the
vast
62
majority
moons.
made
or something.
of. I'm not certain.
There's a lot.
It's made of water ice, solid H2O, good old useful stuff. So
Yeah.
all of this stuff, like if you built everything that we've just described on Europa, then for sure you drill for the ice, you can synthesize that back into water. You can use that water to be the coolant in your reactor to feed everything else. You also need an input of carbon.
Yeah.
For CO2
for sure.
for the plants and things.
For sure.
Because you know, as the human eats the food and puts out, like we take in the oxygen and we breathe out the CO2, that carbon in that is coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, in the balance of things, it comes from what we put in. So we need input of carbon, which will probably come from the food, but obviously the plants and things are taking in CO2. So where's that carbon come from? So I think with all of these questions, we do end up with very much a problem of we're not getting anything from nothing.
Right.
And if you're isolated in space, you're not gaining anything.
True. Did we just figure out that it's hard to make a space station? I think that's what we just discovered.
I think we might have done.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
On that, you know, this whole objective of a self-sustaining space station, I think the closest you'd get is by having a station with all of the tools in place to, from minimal supplies, synthesize everything else we need. Now that is, you know, not a very revolutionary concept. I mean, if you could say, like Star Trek style, you got a fabricator, and you just 3D print everything you need. That would be great.
That'd be great. To
be fair, and 3D printing has come a very long way. And that's a very cool area, which I'm sure we'll discuss in bits and bobs here and there. Both being engineering students and nerds.
Yeah, because we love engineering, guys. No, that's not true.
It's pretty cool.
It's a lie.
Yeah, it's got its downsides.
No. Just only downsides.
Yeah, we'll try not to complain about our course too much.
I will. He will not, but I will. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So,
all right. You know what? I think we should put a little bit of music.
Let's do a music break, and we'll come back in a minute.
Give our zero listener a bit of time to process the information we talked about.
Yeah, and we'll I think we'll download this afterwards and put it out.
Yeah, we'll definitely put it out. So you're on Neon Sunrise on a 9 to 10 morning show, Wednesday mornings, with Andrew Datson and Alexandre Sai. That's me. So just to resume a bit, Neon Sunrise is a morning show, talk show, where Andrew and I will talk about literally anything, going from a good question to a weirdly, completely wrong answer.
Absolute nonsense.
Absolute nonsense. Right now, Andrew is leading a bit the conversation with real facts, because I have no idea. But, you know, we will talk about end of the world, apocalypse, video games, just anything.
Absolutely.
Related to geek culture and science.
Yeah, and so we have a pretty wide range of interests, going from all of this sci-fi fantasy stuff, video games,
D&D to video games.
Yeah, we'll try and make sure that each of these does cover different areas.
Right.
So we're not repeating ourselves, but we'll make no promises. This show is very much, we're going to put the accelerator on and let go of the steering wheel and just see where this goes.
I mean, we just did 30 minutes of talk without even just processing it.
I think that's why we started a radio show.
Right, that's it. We talk too much, Andrew.
We do.
We talk too much.
Yes, we've had another outlet for it. So if you're
All
listening,
right.
thank you very much. We hope you've been enjoying it so far. We're gonna go to some music. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was nice.
That was nice.
I
I like that kind of music.
Yeah, so we're going to take a bit of a left turn here. So we've been going on
Chill,
the whole
lo-fi.
sci-fi, fantasy, futuristic nonsense. So we're going to go to a different avenue of that. And I want to talk a bit about an upcoming game. I want to talk a bit about Fallout 76.
I want to talk about... Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So I don't know if any of you guys played Fallout. It's a pretty big game. It's by Bethesda Studio. You have you have New Vegas, Fallout 4, Fallout 3 that are pretty big.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them
some background on it
Some
for anyone
background to
who
the game.
hasn't
Go
played
ahead.
it. It is set in the USA if the Cold War went nuclear. It is set in the nuclear wasteland of the USA, or as we know, or as it's also known, 2018 in the USA. It is.
That's true.
So it started off with Fallout 1, which was a kind of an isometric tactical adventure game.
Exactly.
And after that, that's when Bethesda took over it, and it became this first third-person explorative kind of adventure shooter RPG.
Very much.
And that's where Fallout 2, 3, New Vegas, and 4 came in.
Yeah, and so that's where you got the power suit, the very known power suit nuclear base. It's really cool. It's
very cool. And so in Fallout 4, they brought in new things where like you can build bases and camps and things, which is all very fun for those of you who love playing The Sims. Like back when I was like 12, all I knew is if you type in Rosebud on The Sims, and I'd just build houses. Like I didn't play The Sims. I did a house building simulator, without all of the lead times. So Fallout 4 brought in those things, and it's this very good in-depth RPG story. There's loads of NPC characters or non-player characters you can interact with and choose what you say to them, and it has a lot of those elements. Now, Fallout 76 is the new title coming out in November.
Right, it's a multiplayer based.
It is, and it's a massive
online
divergence from its
Bethesda,
history.
I think what's very important is Bethesda did Skyrim and all the Elder Scrolls series.
They did, yes.
And the point was, they have the fantasy base, and they made Elder Scrolls Online. And I think that's what they wanted to do with Fallout, which was the more realistic, not realistic, but more apocalyptic series, where they wanted to do a bit of the same thing as in Elder Scrolls Online. They wanted to make it online, make it multiplayer, have it as a big thing, and like this, it would put a bit of time for them to make the new Fallout 5 or 6. I mean, for Elder Scrolls,
and they're also working on the new Elder Scrolls.
Right, but the new Elder Scrolls 6, any Elder Scrolls take a lot of time. And I think what they did with Elder Scrolls Online was a way to give time to the community also.
For sure. And now, so
it was also something that was requested.
So they said this on the 2018 E3 panel.
They did.
Fallout 76 was never initially a game in of itself. It began as an online expansion for Fallout 4.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So they were working on that, I think, in a similar mindset to Skyrim Online, but they wanted to bring that multiplayer aspect. Now, one of the long-time draws, the attractions, the features of Fallout is that it is you in a desolate world, and
exactly.
You're surrounded by these great, like these fantastically written NPCs with amazing dialogue and really cool stories which you can explore. Like you can be sassy as hell to them. It's great.
I mean, Bethesda does always that where you can choose. What you're gonna say. And you can be sassy. I mean, Skyrim, you can be.
Skyrim less so. You have a few.
Less so.
You have a few dialogue options.
You can be very You can be evil, mean, maybe.
You can be, but that's more in your actions rather than your dialogue.
Yeah.
And Fallout brings you that.
You can't kill child
You can't kill children. I don't think you can kill children in Fallout either. But let's steer away from killing children.
Yes. This is the radio, Andrew.
So in Fallout 4, they were working on this multiplayer mode, and they kind of found out that it was getting to a size where this is a project in of itself, and hence Fallout 76 comes out. Now, Fallout 4 and the rest of them are set some 200 years after the Great War.
Right, you get out of the vault. There's no one.
The world has been ravaged not only by nuclear fallout, but by time itself, and you're in this very different landscape. So Fallout 76 is set only like about a decade or so after things. So the world is much brighter, much greener.
Right.
It is a very different time, and you are one of the first vaults to open and help rebuild civilization. So a few details on it. It is set in the hills of West Virginia.
Virginia.
Mountain Mama. And it is said to be 4 times larger than the map in Fallout 4. It's going to be a big old game. They are bringing fast travel to it.
It is going to be an online game, so you got to have a bigger map.
You do. Now, one of the fears with online stuff is obviously griefers, and also how big is the server. Now, the servers are actually relatively small, about a dozen people.
Exactly, which I found really interesting.
It is, yeah. And one of the other cool things, there are NPCs in the game. There are ghouls and people like intelligent zombie-like people who are NPCs that can give you quests and information.
Right. But very, 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 not a lot.
Very few.
The point is...
And you can't talk to them.
No, you can't talk to them. Because
you can listen to them.
So the problem a bit of beta testers said was that you do feel alone. But the point was, I mean, Bethesda tried really hard to make you feel like you're the first pioneer in this new world of this uncivilized region.
Yeah.
But the problem is, so you don't have any NPCs because you're one of the first vault to be opened. But the problem is, well, you feel alone. You have 12 players on a huge map, and you, like, of course you're going to see them, a few of them during, boss fight, boss raid against the Mothman, which is a great boss. It looks good. But you will feel alone. there's enough. Like there's like you're gonna go to a quest, but actually it's just gonna be like a tape recorder, and then you're gonna go to another place, and there's just gonna be a note. And you can be like,
for sure. I think one of the
human interaction.
One of the problems with, and not the problem, but like one of the reasons that people might experience that is if they're
Right.
not playing with people.
True.
I think so.
True.
With it, there's about a dozen people on a server at a time. The fears of that, feeling lonely, not encountering many people on this large map.
Right.
So the solution to that, play with friends. It's a big online game.
Play with friends. Well, it's easy to say. I was a kid who was growing up like. I had a good amount of friends, but a lot of them were playing games. So when it comes, for example, to World of Warcraft, I always wanted to play World of Warcraft, and I played like all the RTS games. I played 1, 2, 3. But the problem was, World of Warcraft. You can play alone. You can meet a lot of people, but it's hard. It's hard.
It's
to meet
true.
people
It's like,
online.
and especially when
It's not that easy.
because Sony are. Because of decisions Sony have made, 76 will not have cross-platform play.
Right.
Which is annoying because obviously you're a PS4 man, I'm an Xbox One guy.
Man.
And that's actually the
Everything is
name of
just
the radio
dividing.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PS4 man and
the
Xbox One
the
man.
light and the dark meet. That's us.
Yeah. Are you saying I'm dark?
You're the dark one here.
I'm the dark one here anyway.
But yeah, so no
Right.
cross-platform play. So that's a factor of it. Now, I think
Right.
one of the other big factors and one of the potential deterrents to some people looking to get into this are griefers. Now, I remember
Griefers?
ages ago, I was playing Minecraft on iJustine's server,
Oh,
so I was
that's
doing
what
all
you
that
mean.
nonsense.
Right.
And you'd start building a base, and some knobhead would come over and
Just break it.
I apologize. I don't know if that's counted as a swear word on this show. Some person would come along and blow up your house with TNT, and you'd be trying to escape them, and just you're trying to just play a game with other people around you.
No, I don't think blow is. Oh, maybe now that I say it like this.
Never mind.
Never mind.
So yeah, griefers and things. Now Fallout has a few measures in place to minimize that.
Right. Can you break the station of someone else? I think you can.
So I'll get to that.
Can play
First
music.
off, with shooting other people. With PvP, or player versus player. If you are lower than level 5...
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, so if you're lower than level 5, no one can hurt you.
Right. And even if there's level 40 coming up to you, and you're level, 10, 20? Well, the level of that man and all his weapon and all of that is going to be decreased, so you have a fair fight against the level 40 guy in power armor. Not quite?
No. So, the way it works is if you're higher than level 5, another player can inflict damage to you. They can shoot you with all their arsenal. However, you take very, very minimal damage. It's like them swinging a toothpick at a brick wall. It's more like a slap in a bar than a punch in the face. Like it's greatly reduced. Now they can still kill you, but if you fire back at them, you have now basically in game agreed to this fight. You are now, and then it's full damage. Like their big weapons will count for full.
Fair enough.
And your small low power stuff won't matter. And they will wipe the floor with you. However, you can fight or flee, and if you flee, you still deal minimal damage. Now, they can still dog you and chase you and kill you. However, if you have not engaged them, they get no reward, no XP, no bounty, no loot, whatever. And if they do this is effectively in-game committing murder. On their map, they can no longer see the location of any other players, and every other player sees a big red star on their forehead saying "wanted for murder."
Oh, that's cool.
It sticks a big-ass bounty on that person's head. So this
He's
person...
the only level 40 and everyone's level 10. He's just killing everyone.
So this person is now a wanted criminal with a big bounty on them, and then everyone else can go to them.
It's Sword Art Online Season 2, man.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much.
And also, if you kill the person that killed you, you get a payback bonus, and you earn double the reward.
Okay, so the point is just so if you go with a friend, you just play 2, one of them kill you, and you just kill him back, and then you get more money. Huh?
You could do that. Yeah, that is an option, I suppose. But yeah, so there is this method in place to deter people from being wanton murderers,
right?
Because the second you murder someone, you become this nice big juicy target for everyone else.
Yeah,
and you know, one of the ways of getting around that is if you wait for someone to be fighting a monster, jump in front of their bullets, and then you've agreed to an engagement, and then they start fighting.
Yeah.
So if you are fighting a monster, you have a pacifist setting or a pacifist flag which pops up on you, which means if someone else gets hit by your bullets, that does not count as an agreement to a fight.
Ooh, that's good.
So I don't think there are many loopholes there.
No, not very much.
So, like,
Well, I mean, what about the very known feature Fallout, which is the slowing time one. The one where you can see the percentage
VATS,
and
yes.
that. I don't remember how it's called.
It's like Volt Tech assisted targeting system.
Right, maybe.
So for those who don't know, it is a mechanic in the game where you can
slow time.
You can slow time and target different parts of your opponent, like legs, torso, head, whatever else, for a chance to kind of automatically hit them. Now, in Fallout 76, because it is online, having one player slowing time is going to be a big issue.
Every time.
So VATS is still a thing, but it is different. It is in the game, but it is in real time and feels quite different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still there, bit different. Doesn't have the whole slowing time thing, which is a negative, but.
When I listened to a few of the beta testers, they said that actually in the end they just used the iron sight. They didn't use anything of they didn't use the volt assisted shooting thing.
So in previous Fallouts, no matter what sights you have, if the VATS thing works, you have a chance to just automatically hit them without aiming, which is one of the strengths of it.
Mm-hmm.
Being that it is now real time, it doesn't seem like it'll be as useful.
No.
And in Fallout, if you've played it, you'll know most of the optics and like the sights you can attach to your weapons are pretty crap.
Right.
Or bad. I apologize.
Pretty crap.
They're pretty bad. Like it's just a little metal tube with a screw in it for a reticle.
Right.
It's pretty bad. So using iron sights makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So VATS is still there. That's still a part of it. Now you mentioned destroying other people's bases. Big part of Fallout 4 was
creating bases,
building bases.
Yeah,
it became
exactly.
that Sims game. Now, one thing, offline players, things that they've built are not in the world. So that way you avoid the world being littered with half-built camps.
Yeah.
Which is an important thing.
Therefore, I mean, you're 12 though, so
there are only 12 of you. Yeah. On a server at a time. But if you then log back in, there's no guarantee you'll be on that server.
Oh, okay. So your server is not stuck in one server. Okay.
No.
Okay.
You don't get it to reserve. This is my server.
It's not like those old MMORPG that I used to play, where your character would be set on one server, and then everyone would go to another server because it was more populated, and then you would just be alone in the fucking world. It was. Yeah, I used to have that. It's great.
Apologize for your language.
Yeah, man.
You're on
Sorry.
radio.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I apologize for that.
Yeah. So with those things in mind, you can build bases. Now, you can build bases with your friends. Like, your
Right.
bases can interact with, and you can build a base together.
Right.
One thing, you can save a base
Uh-huh.
and move it. You can destroy your camp, go somewhere else, and just boop, and it's there.
Okay.
Which is great. If you
Which is great.
built your camp, you can, without losing all those resources and all that time, you can move that somewhere else if you need to.
Right.
Which I'm sure will be used by some as an offensive measure. They'll build up a big fighting barricade and they'll
just come up and just
put
boom.
that down in the middle of a fight.
Yeah. Instant Fortress, man.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes.
Level 8 item, Instant Fortress.
Instant Fortress, I believe.
No, it's a 5-level spell.
I think it's a very no, it's not.
No,
That's nonsense. In
That's
Dungeons and
nonsense.
Dragons, an Instant
in
Fortress
Dungeons and Dragons.
is a magical item.
Is it? I think there is a spell for that.
I think there is. I think it's either level 7 or 8.
Okay. Fair
Um.
enough.
Yeah, you guys are gonna get that a lot.
Yes.
We'll try and
Also.
explain things as we go, but if we do bust out on a tangent, we'll try
It is
and...
hard to follow. It is hard to follow.
Yeah. So, you can destroy enemies' encampments
Okay.
using a nuclear missile.
Oh, right. It's
Part of Fallout
what is it?
76.
Big Daddy?
No, so there's I think it's the big boy, something like that.
Big boy, big boy.
In the game is a weapon where you shoot a miniature nuke.
Yeah.
That wouldn't do it. However, part of Fallout 76, part of the main campaign story, because there is a full story,
Right.
there are deactivated nuclear missile silos.
Right.
And in part of the campaign, you can find the launch codes for these, and you can use these. You can get them, and you can launch. And
You can blow the entire thing.
You can blow up enemy bases. It will kill people, and also it turns that region of this very large map into a high-level radiation zone. So if you are a player and you do not have radiation protection, that will kill you. And also, these high-level radiation zones are where the hardest monsters in the game spawn. So if you have a bunch of players who you're playing with, these guys are our enemies, they're being a big pain to us.
Right.
They're now an enemy faction. They've got this big base. You can find the launch codes. You nuke that place. That destroys pretty much their entire base.
Right.
And it turns that entire area that, say they were defending a hilltop.
Right.
You then turn that region into this area where it's high radiation and all these...
Poor guys.
where you turn the area into this, infested with high-level monsters.
hard. That's
So
hard for people.
It is. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes around.
I mean, if you have like 2 factions of 6 people each, and then just one just blows up the entire half of the map.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. One, if you build a camp, you log off,
Right.
that disappears, and you log back on, and
I'm
someone
thinking-
else builds a
yeah.
camp in the same place. I'll be interested
What
to see
happened?
how those.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of technical
work.
issue that I'm thinking about. For example, if you have friends for example, do you go on the same server? I'm guessing, or if you wanted to go.
I imagine there's a lobby.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lobby. But what if you have like, do you have any guilds? Do you have any group? Do you have any
That's true.
groups
Like,
created? What
how
about
much
those?
how much guarantee is there that because sometimes for sure
That's the
I
point
can
of online
imagine,
games,
Yeah, like I'm sure that there's a bunch of guys who are an enemy faction to you.
right? Always.
There's no guarantee that you might log on to the same server as them and then be able to continue that fight, and you might want to. I don't know if you could
They're
coordinate
running
that.
away. No.
I wonder if you could coordinate like 12 people to get in your lobby that are the same people.
Right.
But that would require you to kind of like coordinate that
It
outside
would.
of the game.
Yeah, 12
Like-
people is a lot.
Like 3 hours go by, you're now embroiled in this amazing guild war between your people and their people, and then like you message them on Xbox like, "Hey guys, this has been a really fun time. Do you want to be friends in real life and we'll coordinate the next time?"
But I think it can be hard, like if just if you're 12
Mhm.
and then like I feel like I would have gone and done, with the 12 same people. But what if one of them just stop playing the game,
One of them starts playing. Also,
or like 10 of
try
them stop
getting
playing
12
the game?
people on the same console on the same game at the same time.
No, right. So that I get. But the problem is since you're gonna have players that aren't gonna be. If you always want to have 12 people on the map, you're always gonna have like random people, right? So
Yeah.
you can't keep that like being on a. So for example, coming back to the nuke, does it stay on that particular server, or if you change server afterwards, does it come with you? So just like you just come
don't
into a
know.
server and then there's like 5 nukes blowing up in the map.
Maybe.
That's hard.
So yeah, and so one of the big strengths of Fallout in the past has been this kind of solo you with NPCs in the world exploring,
And barbed wire bat.
and a barbed wire bat.
That's right.
So it'll be interesting to see how the game plays now that that's changed. I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna.
Of course, you're gonna
see how
get
that
it.
rolls.
I need to buy. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I need to buy God of War. That's what I need to buy.
There are a million games we both need to buy, and I'm sure as we do so, we'll talk about it on
Like
here.
Monster Hunter, God of War, anything Spider-Man. I don't have enough money for that.
So yeah, I think we're gonna bring that to a close.
We're gonna bring that to a close.
This has been fun.
This has been fun. This has been the first hour we've done on radio. It was great.
This is our first time on radio. We apologise if our mic technique has been off and we've been
Yeah.
fading in and out. We're going to try and get better at that through time.
Sorry about that.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed.
I mean, we did.
We did, so we hope
That's
there
the
was...
most important thing.
Yeah, that's more important. So I hope you guys got some entertainment out of that. We're going to be...
Yeah, we've done a bit of like both of it. We've done a bit of science.
We've done some sci-fi. We've done some games.
We've done some games.
Yeah.
We jumped from one topic to another very abruptly, but that was fine.
So yeah, we'll try and measure that a bit more and, I don't know, write down a plan of what we're going to do.
Oh my god, plan?
That sounds really
writing?
weird.
Damn, writing down? No,
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know how to write, man.
Dangerous territory.
Dangerous territory.
Cool. So yeah, we're going to be back here. We're going to be here Wednesday mornings 9 till 10. As a reminder, my name's Andrew.
My name is Alexandre Sai.
And this has been Neon Sunrise.